I say fuck the man that lives in the sky.
Yes, indeedy. Hello, hello, hello. From the front row, there is a seat open and waiting for you. I am your host, Crafty, the Front Row Atheist. Thanks so very much for tuning in, checking out, and looking up what it is I'm putting down. You know, one thing more than any other kind of drives me as an atheist, and that is I feel faith-based belief in the supernatural is the cornerstone, the foundation of a dangerous mindset that, even though not always directly, results in many of the obstacles facing this country and this planet. It distracts, distorts, and divides otherwise rational people. It offers false hope, fosters a mentality that this life on Earth is not the important one, and it establishes an unquestionable authority structure that requires obedience from its disciples. Almost always, starting in early childhood, religious faith makes people comfortable with the idea of believing what they cannot see, not only without good evidence, but in spite of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Enter democracy. Stage left. You know, maybe for a fleeting moment, we did experience it here in the States, but it was quickly hijacked and squashed with only the illusion of itself in its place. The stories and the headlines describing democracy's demise are endless. I happened to click on two such stories back to back on Drudge Report a few days ago, which inspired this video. The first was from the Boston Globe on April 12th by staffer John Chesto, and it's about a U.S. shoe company, a big one, deciding to come forward about the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, and the dangers it poses to them and to all of us. It reads, New Balance is reviving its fight against the trade deal, which would in part gradually phase out tariffs on shoes made in Vietnam. A loss of those tariffs, the company says, would make imports cheaper and jeopardize its factory jobs in New England. And then later on in the article, Matt LeBreton, VP of Public Affairs for the company, tells the Globe that, quote, we swallowed the poison pill that is TPP so we could have a chance to bid on these contracts. We were assured this would be a top-down approach at the Department of Defense if we agreed to either support or remain neutral on TPP. But the chances of the Department of Defense buying shoes that are made in the USA are slim to none while Obama is president. Now, a couple of things come up and slap me in the face here. One is the trade deal itself, right? I mean, anything and everything that we've learned about it has been like a steel wool hand job. Extra coarse, of course. And what we have learned about it has been very little. Why? Well, because of that whole democracy being a friggin' illusion thing. You know, for those that don't know, go fuck yourself. You're a part of the problem. But this trade deal is supposedly one of the biggest ever, right? One of the biggest pieces of legislation ever. It's going to greatly impact all American lives in a number of ways. It's been negotiated behind closed doors for years. Not even most of our elected officials can read it. And the ones that do know anything, they're sworn to secrecy. The way they're allowed to view it is it's in a closed, locked room where they cannot take notes or bring in their cell phone, and they're under surveillance the entire time. I don't know. This sound like democracy in action to you? Personally, I think I could stop here. This story, this trade deal, pretty much tell you all you need to know about the state of democracy here in Murica. It'll be drafted and negotiated in total secrecy. You may remember it was given fast-track status for when it does come to a vote, and if when passed, most of those voting on it, your elected leaders, will not have read a word of it. Regardless of the impact it has, which by all accounts will be massively negative, the steps taken to create and pass it should be considered treason by all those involved. And real quick, the other aspect of this particular story that jumped out and mushroom stamped me on the forehead, this douchebag Matt LeBreton. And we were going to, how did he put it? Swallow the poison pill because it meant a few extra bucks to the company. And only when he learned it wouldn't bring him these contracts are they daring to speak out about it. Fuck you, LeBreton. You are another example of all that is wrong about this country. The other article that I was talking about was on this site, the antimedia.org. Also appeared on the 12th of this month, and it was titled 2016, the year Americans found out our elections are rigged, by Nick Burnaby. I'll put links in the description box for both these articles, but some of the lowlights of this one are, reading right from the article, the 2016 election has been a wild ride, with two insurgent grassroots campaigns literally giving the political establishment a run for its money. But as the events of this presidential primary season play out, it's becoming clear the U.S. election, and even more so the presidential race, is a big scam being perpetrated on the American people. Events from the last week have exposed the system as an illusion of choice and a farce. They have reinforced at least one study showing, and I'll link to this as well in the description box, but showing that the U.S. is an oligarchy rather than a democratic republic. The Wyoming Democratic Caucus took place on Saturday, purportedly to allow voters to have their voices heard in the race between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Sanders lost the Wyoming caucus by winning it with a 12% margin. Under the Democratic Party's oddball delegate system, Sanders' winning streak, he has won 7 out of the past 8 contests, counts for little. In fact, despite his win, he splits Wyoming's 14 pledged delegates 7-7 under the caucus calculus. Clinton, meanwhile, also gets the state's 4 superdelegates, who had already pledged their allegiance to her in January. So despite losing, she triumphs 11-7 in the delegate tally. And lastly, from this article, they quote former President Jimmy Carter. Now it's just an oligarchy, with unlimited political bribery being the essence of getting the nominations for president or to elect the president. And the same thing applies to governors and U.S. senators and Congress members. Wow. Once again, former President Jimmy Carter. I hear many a right-wing conservative jack-off Christian pundits proclaim how Murica is in the shape it's in because Americans are turning their collective backs on God and, of course, his only begotten Son, that he allowed to be brutally tortured and killed. Sorry, but we're in the shape we are in because of 100 to 150 years where Christians, who were the uber majority of this country, put their faith in the government the same way they did with God. They believed that no way could the same God-fearing Christian politicians make such greedy, dare I say, evil compromises with the rich and powerful, and certainly never lie about it. They even prayed to the Almighty that persons they elect would be kept in his good graces, and that he should shine his ever-loving wisdom and light upon them as they made the important decisions entrusted to them. And they left it at that. That was it. They worried about things like rock and roll and smoking weed and how long hair or dresses were. They worried about the Negro and making sure that they knew their place. That was, of course, somewhere in the back of the bus. And they paid no attention to deal after deal, policy after policy, lie after lie that has culminated into the giant fucking morass we currently find ourselves in. Yes, thanks to them, democracy itself has joined the ranks of Zeus, Odin, Isis, and Yahweh as something tens or hundreds of millions believe in, praise, and discuss daily, but is merely a figment of their imagination. Welcome to that grand illusion, where someday soon we'll stop to ponder what on earth's spell we're under. Hey, that's it for me for now. Thanks again for tuning in. I am the Front Row Atheist, and until next time, you sinners be good now. You hear?
Someday soon we'll stop to ponder what on earth's despair we're under. We laid the grave, still we wonder who the hell we are.